The Vraxian war fleet tore through the Epsilon sector with the fury of a dying star. Commander Zexthor's mandibles clicked in frustration as another scan came back empty. 3 standard cycles had passed since the Hive Queen's daughters had vanished, and the galaxy was burning in their absence. "Expand the search grid," Zexthor commanded, his 12 eyes scanning the holographic display. "The princesses must be found. Without them, the treaty collapses." Every species in the known galaxy had mobilized. The crystalline Luxari sent their thought ships into the void. The amphibious Kelith drained entire ocean worlds, searching the depths. Even the reclusive traders of the Outer Rim had abandoned their profitable routes to join the hunt. The Hive Queen's daughters weren't just royalty. They were the living treaty, the biological guarantee of peace between 1,000 worlds. Their disappearance meant war. Zexthor had seen the preliminary reports. Border skirmishes had already begun. Old grudges, held in check for 2 generations by the treaty, were resurging. The Vraxian Empire would be blamed, of course. They always were. And if the princesses weren't found within a lunar cycle, the queen would unleash her swarms. Nobody wanted that. The human station appeared on the edge of his sensors, a pathetic little thing barely worthy of notice. Humans were new to the galactic community, primitives who'd stumbled into FTL technology through sheer reckless stupidity. They'd been granted observer status at the council, nothing more. Harmless, irrelevant. But protocols demanded thoroughness. "Scan the human station," Zexthor ordered. The results came back negative. No princesses. No unusual biosignatures. Just one human life sign aboard, and some small creatures the database identified as cats. Indigenous Earth fauna the humans inexplicably transported across the stars. "Move on," Zexthor commanded. Marcus Chen hummed softly as he turned the page, careful not to disturb the 2 small forms curled on his lap. The cargo hauler's cockpit was cramped, but it was home, and right now it was story time. And then, Marcus read aloud, his voice dropping to a dramatic whisper. The brave knight approached the dragon's cave, knowing he might never return. A soft chirp came from his lap. He smiled and adjusted his position slightly. The 2 creatures nestled closer, their iridescent chitin catching the light from the view screen. They were beautiful, really. About the size of house cats, with delicate crystalline wings folded against their backs and compound eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. He'd found them 3 days ago hiding in a cargo container, stowaways. They'd been terrified, clicking and chittering in distress. Marcus had done what any decent person would do. He'd fed them, given them water, and made them comfortable. They'd taken to him immediately, following him around the ship, curious about everything. Lonely as he was out here in the black, he was grateful for the company. "The dragon spoke," Marcus continued, and its voice was like thunder. The smaller of the 2 creatures, Marcus had started calling her Sparkle, made a content humming sound. Her sister, Shimmer, was already asleep, her breathing slow and rhythmic. Marcus had tried calling it in, of course, but communication had been spotty, and nobody had responded to his queries about unknown insectoid species. He'd check again at the next station. Until then, they seemed happy enough. He'd never seen creatures so intelligent. They understood context, emotion. When he was sad, they'd nuzzle against him. When he laughed, they'd chirp in what seemed like joy, and they absolutely loved story time. Every evening, Marcus would sit in the pilot's chair, and they'd climb onto his lap, settling in like they'd done it their entire lives. He'd read to them from his battered collection of books, fantasy epics, ancient Earth legends, adventure stories from humanity's past. They particularly loved the stories about families, about siblings who protected each other, about daughters returning home. "Are you 2 homesick?" Marcus asked softly, running a gentle finger along Sparkle's carapace. She leaned into his touch, eyes glowing softly. He'd get them home, somehow, even if he had to visit every registered planet in this sector. Outside, a dozen more warships jumped into the system, their weapons hot, their scanners sweeping desperately. Inside, Marcus turned another page. The princess knew her mother was waiting, he read, but she also knew that some journeys take time. Some stories need to be heard. Both creatures hummed in harmony, a sound like crystal bells. Marcus smiled and continued reading. By the time Zexthor received the intelligence report, a linguistic analysis from the minds of the core worlds, cross-referenced with human literary patterns and behavioral observations, 17 days had passed. The galaxy was on the brink. The report was impossible. The Hive Queen's daughters had been learning, not about politics or war or treaties, about stories. About the strange human concept of narrative, of heroes and journeys, of the power of a voice reading aloud in the dark. "They're where?" Zexthor demanded. "On the human cargo vessel," his intelligence officer reported. "They've been there the entire time. The human is reading to them." Zexthor's mandibles hung open. "Reading?" "Affirmative. Pre-FTL fiction. Printed books. The princesses appear to be listening." It took 6 hours to assemble the diplomatic envoy. The Hive Queen herself came, her massive royal ship darkening a third of the system. The council held its collective breath. Marcus nearly jumped out of his skin when his comms lit up with a priority override. The view screen filled with more alien faces than he'd ever seen. "Human Marcus Chen." The transmission began in 1,000 languages simultaneously. "You have been caring for royalty." Marcus looked down at Sparkle and Shimmer, who looked back up at him with what he could only describe as sheepish expressions. "Oh," he said. "That explains a lot." The galaxy learned something that day. The Hive Queen's daughters had been learning too, searching for something their vast civilization had forgotten, the simple magic of a story told in a quiet voice, the warmth of connection without agenda, the peace of being small and safe in a vast universe. They hadn't been lost. They'd been listening. And perhaps, Marcus thought later, as he stood before the council with 2 princesses still refusing to leave his side, that was the most human thing of all, to find what everyone was searching for and not even realize it was lost. The treaty was renewed, stronger than before, and every 7th day, when diplomatic duties allowed, 2 royal princesses would visit a humble cargo hauler, climb onto a human's lap, and listen to stories about dragons and knights and the long journey home.